so good. Amazing, guys. We got the W.
9 minutes. That's all it took for Raven Johnson to flip the entire WNBA upside down and hand Caitlin Clark the most dangerous weapon she's ever had. Barclays Center was supposed to be a statement night for the New York Liberty. A super team, a powerhouse. Breanna Stewart, Jonquil Jones, Han-Su towering at 6 feet 11 inches like an unstoppable wall. The message was clear. Indiana Fever were walking into a nightmare. But nobody expected the nightmare to belong to New York. Because the moment Raven Johnson stepped on that floor, everything broke. The pace exploded. The defense collapsed. The Liberty, one of the most feared teams in the league, started looking confused, slow, exposed. And Caitlin Clark? She didn't even need to score. That's the terrifying part. Even on an off night, even missing shots, even getting physically pressured, she controlled everything. Because now, when defenses swarmed her, trapped her, tried to break her rhythm, there was someone else waiting. Someone calm. Someone surgical. Someone who didn't panic. Raven Johnson didn't play like a rookie. She played like she'd been waiting for this moment her entire life. And together, Clark became the gravity. Johnson became the execution. And the Liberty, they became the first victims of something the league is not ready for. Because if this connection is real, if this chemistry is sustainable, then what we just witnessed wasn't a debut. It was the beginning of a takeover the WNBA cannot stop. This wasn't supposed to happen this fast. Raven Johnson entered the league with a label already attached to her. Defender, energy player, someone who could disrupt but not necessarily control. Scouts praised her grit, her instincts, her ability to suffocate opposing guards, but there was always that hesitation. That quiet doubt that followed her everywhere. Can she run an offense? Can she handle WNBA pressure? Can she play next to Caitlin Clark without disappearing? Because playing next to Caitlin Clark isn't normal. It's pressure at a level most players never experience. Clark isn't just a superstar. She's a gravitational force. Defenses bend toward her. Cameras follow her. Expectations suffocate anyone standing beside her. Teammates don't just play with her. They get evaluated through her. Some shrink. Some hesitate. Some get lost. And heading into this game, the fear was simple. Raven Johnson might be one of them. Because the Indiana Fever were already under a microscope. Caitlin Clark's rise didn't just change Indiana. It changed the entire league. Every game became an event. Every possession analyzed. Every mistake amplified. And with that came pressure on the roster to keep up. Kelsey Mitchell had to prove she was worth the money. Aaliyah Boston had to stay dominant in the paint. The bench had to show depth. And now Raven Johnson? She wasn't just fighting for minutes. She was fighting for relevance. Because behind the scenes, the situation was even more intense. Training camp wasn't comfortable. It wasn't guaranteed. Roster spots were fragile. Players were battling for survival. Coaches were watching everything. One mistake could cost you your role, your minutes, your career. And Raven knew it. She wasn't walking into this debut relaxed. She was walking in desperate, focused, locked in. Because this wasn't just about proving she belonged. This was about proving she could change something. And then there was the bigger issue. The league had already built a blueprint to stop Caitlin Clark. Trap her early. Pressure her constantly. Force the ball out of her hands. Make someone else beat you. For months, that was the plan. And honestly, it worked at times. Clark took hits. Physical ones. Mental ones. Defenses made her uncomfortable. Forced her into tough shots. Tested her patience. Tried to break her rhythm. Because if you slow Caitlin Clark down, you slow Indiana down. That was the belief. That was the strategy. That was the system every team was preparing to execute. But what nobody fully prepared for was what happens when Caitlin Clark doesn't need to control the ball to control the game. Because that's where Raven Johnson entered the story. Not as a backup, not as a role player, but as a solution, a counterattack, a second brain on the floor. And suddenly, everything changed. Because now, when defenses collapsed on Clark, they weren't forcing a mistake anymore. They were creating an opportunity for Raven. And the moment she realized that, the moment she felt that space, that trust, that opening, something clicked. Not gradually, instantly. And what happened next didn't just answer questions. It created a new problem the entire league now has to solve. From the very first possession, the Liberty executed the plan everyone expected. Trap Caitlin Clark. Pressure her 30 feet from the basket. Make her uncomfortable. Make someone else beat you. And for a moment, it looked like it was working. Clark picked up early pressure. Bodies flying at her. Hands in her face. The kind of aggressive defense designed to frustrate, to slow her down, to force mistakes. She missed shots. She looked human. 2 for 10 from the field. The crowd felt it. The Liberty fed off it. This was supposed to be the formula. Break Clark, and you break Indiana. But then something happened. Something subtle at first, and then completely undeniable. Caitlin Clark stopped forcing. She stopped fighting the trap. She let it happen. And that's when the real problem started. Because every time the Liberty sent 2 defenders at Clark, they left someone else open. And that someone was Raven Johnson. At first, New York didn't respect it. They sagged off. They hesitated. They assumed she wouldn't punish them, that she wouldn't see the floor fast enough, that she wouldn't make the right reads under pressure. That assumption lasted seconds, because Raven Johnson didn't panic. She didn't rush. She didn't play like a rookie trying to survive. She played like a veteran controlling chaos. One possession, she catches the ball after a trap, instantly scans the floor, threads a perfect pass to Kelsey Mitchell for a 3. No hesitation, no fear. Next possession, defensive rebound, and before anyone can react, she's already sprinting, coast to coast, straight through a wall of size. Between defenders, layup, clean, cold, calculated. And just like that, the Liberty's entire defensive scheme started cracking, because now the math was broken. Trap Clark? You give Raven space. Don't trap Clark? She cooks you. There was no right answer anymore. And that's when the first shocking twist hit. Caitlin Clark didn't need to dominate. She needed to attract. Even on an off-shooting night, even missing shots, even getting hit physically, she was still the most dangerous player on the floor. Not because of what she was doing, but because of what she was creating. Every defender watching her, every rotation shifting toward her, every inch of space bending around her presence. And Raven Johnson? She was exploiting every single gap. This wasn't random. This wasn't lucky. This was structure. Clark became the gravitational pull. Raven became the decision maker. And the Liberty, they were stuck reacting, one step too late on every possession. Then came the moment that sealed it. A sequence so clean, so fast. It looked like something drawn on a whiteboard. Cunningham sets a brutal screen. Clark draws 2 defenders instantly. Kick out. Swing pass. Mitchell relocates. Shot. Splash. 3. The entire defense moved. And still failed. Because the ball moved faster. The reads came quicker. And the execution? Perfect. That's when the energy in the arena shifted. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just a quiet realization spreading through the building. This is different. Because the Liberty weren't losing control because of mistakes. They were losing control because Indiana had answers. And for the first time all night, New York didn't look dominant. They looked confused. And the most dangerous part? This wasn't Caitlin Clark at her best. This was her at her most strategic. Which means, if this duo continues to evolve, then what we just saw wasn't the peak. It was the baseline. And the rest of the league? They're already behind. And that's when the game stopped being a contest and started turning into a warning. Because once the Liberty realized Raven Johnson wasn't going away, panic set in. You could see it in the rotations. Late closeouts. Miscommunication. 2 defenders pointing at each other while the ball was already swinging to the next open shooter. The defensive system that looked so dominant on paper started breaking possession by possession. And Indiana didn't slow down. They accelerated. This wasn't controlled basketball anymore. This was chaos weaponized. Raven Johnson started pushing the tempo like she was chasing something. Every rebound turned into a sprint. Every steal became a fast break. Every second mattered, and New York couldn't keep up, because now they weren't just defending Caitlin Clark. They were chasing two minds at once. Two playmakers, two decision-makers, two problems. And that's when the second major twist hit. It wasn't just the starters dominating. It was the bench destroying everything. Kelsey Mitchell came in like a sniper with zero hesitation. No rhythm needed. No warm-up required. Catch, shoot, bucket. Again, again, again. 18 points in 17 minutes. Efficient, ruthless, automatic. Sophie Cunningham. Pure energy. Physical. Aggressive. Hitting contested shots like the defense didn't exist. 13 points in just 14 minutes. Steals. Hustle plays. Screens that actually hurt. This wasn't support. This was reinforcement. And suddenly, the Liberty had a new problem. Even when Clark sat, the pressure didn't drop. It increased. Because Raven Johnson was still there. Still controlling. Still dissecting. Still exposing every weak rotation. And that's when the realization hit everyone watching. This isn't a one-player system anymore. This is a machine. And machines don't slow down when one part struggles. They adapt. They adjust. They keep running. Meanwhile, New York tried everything. Switching defenses. Dropping coverage. More physicality. More pressure. Nothing worked. Because every adjustment created another weakness. And Indiana found it instantly. But just when it looked like complete domination, a problem started creeping in. Quiet at first, then impossible to ignore. The paint. Hansu. 6 feet 11 inches of pure mismatch. While Indiana was destroying New York on the perimeter, they were getting punished inside. Every deep post touch felt automatic. Every contest looked useless. Every rebound battle, lost. 34-27 on the glass. That's not a small gap. That's a structural problem. Because while Indiana was winning the pace, they were losing control of the interior. Second chance points. Physical dominance. Presence in the paint. New York still had it. And that's what made this game dangerous. Because underneath all the excitement, all the speed, all the highlight plays, there was a flaw. A weakness. Something teams around the league were already watching closely. Because if you can't control the paint, you can't control the game for 4 quarters. And that's where the tension started building again. Because for all the brilliance, for all the chaos Indiana created, there was still something they couldn't stop. And if one team exploits that fully, everything we just saw could collapse just as fast as it was built. Which leads to the real question. Did Indiana just expose the league? Or did they expose themselves too? The moment the final buzzer sounded, the game ended, but the chaos didn't. It exploded. Social media didn't just react, it erupted. Clips of Raven Johnson, slicing through defenders, went viral within minutes. Who is this rookie? Trended. Analysts who doubted her hours earlier suddenly flipped their tone. Game changer. Steal of the draft. Perfect fit next to Caitlin Clark. And then came the bigger narrative shift. This wasn't just about Raven anymore. This was about Caitlin Clark evolving. Because for the first time, the conversation changed from "Can you stop Clark?" to something far more dangerous. How do you stop Indiana now? Fans started picking sides. The criticism got sharp fast. Too slow. Too predictable. Built for size, not speed. Even whispers about chemistry started creeping in. A super team that was supposed to dominate suddenly looked vulnerable. Meanwhile, inside Indiana, the energy flipped completely. The locker room wasn't just excited, it was alive. Players feeding off each other. Confidence rising. That unspoken realization spreading. This works. Because chemistry like that, you don't fake it. You feel it. And Raven Johnson didn't just earn minutes that night. She demanded them. Coaches couldn't ignore it anymore. Teammates couldn't overlook it. Fans couldn't question it. In one game, 9 minutes, she shifted her role from maybe to necessary. And that creates tension. Because when a rookie rises that fast, someone else loses space. Rotations change. Minutes disappear. Decisions get harder. Behind the scenes, that's where pressure builds. Who gets cut? Who gets benched? Who gets left behind? Because this roster suddenly looks deep, maybe too deep. And in the WNBA, depth isn't just a luxury. It's a problem. Contracts, cap space, limited spots. Someone has to go. And performances like this, they force decisions faster than teams are ready for. But the biggest emotional shift? It happened around Caitlin Clark. Because even on a bad shooting night, she still controlled the game. And people noticed. The narrative changed again. She doesn't need to score to dominate. She's unlocking everyone. This is what real impact looks like. That's a different level of respect. That's MVP-level conversation. And once that starts, it doesn't stop. But not everyone was celebrating. Around the league, teams were watching this very differently. Coaches weren't impressed. They were concerned, because the blueprint they spent months building just got exposed in one night. Trap Clark, you get punished. Player straight up, you get cooked. Now add Raven Johnson into that equation, and suddenly, there's no clear answer. And that's where fear starts. Because this wasn't just a win, it was a signal, a message sent to every team in the WNBA. Indiana isn't rebuilding anymore. They're coming. Fast, relentless, unpredictable, and maybe unstoppable. But here's the part nobody wants to say out loud yet. Because even in the middle of all this hype, there's still one question hanging over everything. What happens when teams adjust? And more importantly, what happens when Indiana faces someone who's ready for this? Just when the entire league thought they understood what happened, a new layer of tension quietly started building behind the scenes. Because what looked like a breakout moment might actually be the beginning of something far more complicated. Coaches around the WNBA didn't just watch that game, they dissected it, frame by frame, possession by possession, and what they realized sent a chill through front offices. Raven Johnson didn't just play well. She broke the defensive blueprint designed specifically to stop Caitlin Clark. That blueprint, trap high, force the ball out of Clark's hands, make others beat you, had been the league's go-to strategy. It worked before, but now, it's collapsing. Because the second Clark gets trapped, Raven becomes the decision maker. And that's the nightmare. A second brain, a second playmaker, a second problem. And here's where it gets dangerous. Because if Raven Johnson continues to develop at this pace, this isn't just a backcourt, it's a system. One that doesn't rely on one star. One that punishes every defensive gamble. One that turns pressure into opportunity. And suddenly, the question isn't, can Clark handle the pressure? It's, can the league survive what she's building? But just as that realization spreads, another problem quietly emerges inside Indiana. And it's not about talent. It's about control. Because when a rookie rises this fast, and a superstar like Caitlin Clark is already the center of everything, power dynamics start to shift. Who runs the offense? Who closes games? Who gets the ball when it matters most? And more importantly, who sacrifices? Because make no mistake, there's only one spotlight. And now, two players are stepping into it. That's where chemistry gets tested. That's where egos, no matter how quiet, start whispering. That's where great teams either elevate or collapse. And insiders are already noticing something subtle. Moments where Clark moves off ball longer than expected. Moments where Raven takes control without hesitation. Moments where the offense looks different, not worse, just different. And different can be dangerous. Because while fans celebrate versatility, coaches worry about identity. And identity wins championships. So now Indiana faces a new challenge they didn't expect this early. Not building talent, but balancing. Or is this just one explosive performance that the league will shut down the moment they adjust? Be honest, because this next stretch of games is going to expose everything. Drop your prediction right now. Does this duo dominate the league, or does the pressure break them before they even get started? And don't just watch from the sidelines. Hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because every single game from here on out is going to feel like a playoff battle, and we're breaking all of it down. No filters, no narratives, just raw, high-stakes basketball. Because if this really is the beginning of something historic, you're going to want to say you saw it first.